Good afternoon, LEC community. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Ask an Educator. My name is Susana Lizarraz. I am the Deputy Director of the Latinx Education Collaborative. We are working to increase Latino representation in K through 12 classrooms in a variety of different ways: support, home, heart, and humanity. I am so lucky because this week is our first opportunity to do a joint interview with our newest team member, Delia Perez Solorzano. Delia, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Hello, LEC community. Welcome home. I like to say, bienvenidos a la casa. My name is Delia Perez Solorzano. Like Susana said, I am the Director of High Impact Practice at the LEC.
Yes, and you are not mistaken. You are here to see Mara. Maraliz Salgado is with us this afternoon. Delia was our last, not our last, our second to last interview to introduce her to
Mhm.
the team. We have an amazing guest with us today. She's a surge sister of mine. Known her for a little while now. Delia, you and her are friends, right? And y'all from the same hoods, like y'all for real
Yes,
connected, right?
it's crazy. I actually met Maraliz through the LEC, and once we connected, we realized we're from the same city. And when I told her I went to Kelvin Park High School, she very nonchalantly was like, "Oh, my father used to work there." And
That's
when she told me it was Mr. Collazo and her uncle, it's like, what? So definitely, we are all connected at the roots, right?
That's awesome. I love it. Well, without further ado, Mara, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Oh man, I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm grateful that y'all invited me, bro. The girl got the gift of gab, so give me a platform and let's do it. I got five TED Talks.
I mean, for real, for real. We thought like maybe we're gonna have to change the time on this interview because
Yeah.
what you got ready for us is first of all amazing. Second, yes, a lot. So I'm really excited to start the conversation. Before we do, we got some love in the comments already. Betsaida is with us. She says, "Hola desde Lenexa,
Hey,
Kansas."
family. Bienvenido.
Hello, hello. Thanks for being with us. Well, we Delia and I know quite a bit about you, but to kind of introduce you to our community, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Man, I'm gonna ask like for just a second, just to be true to what I'm experiencing right now, and also true to my work. I'm a coach, right? So I would love to just ask for a second just to arrive, right? I myself, I coach folks through this, and I'm coaching my damn self too. Like I'm actively trying to undo some of the harms of white supremacy culture, and I just want to name, right? Like in my own body, the in my belly right now, like the nerves, and I just want to kind of get my breath in sync, and I want to invite you and all our participants virtually to do the same. Um, and I also want to invite, right, like the light of our elders, our ancestors, the spirit of all those who do this beautiful and difficult work. I want to invite their light in. I want to invite us to just take literally one breath, a deep one, where maybe on the inhale we're thinking about Peace Inside. I picked this up from a practice from Pio, Peace Inside Out, which is a arts and recreation community center out of Cali, actually. My brothers and sisters in Pio, and they just, like my cheat for a breathing meditation, if I don't have the time, is just take a deep breath in and think peace inside. I draw that peace into myself. Take a deep exhale out and think peace outside. So I'm sharing that peace right back with you, as above, so below, as within, so without, and that we would just keep this cycle of peace between us and flowing. And while I breathe, I want to breathe some good smells because I like that. So I'm about to turn on my little abre caminos, open roads,
I love that. Is like incense?
Yes, ma'am. Because like you said, I wrote 5 TED Talks in my notes. It's too much for no 45 minutes. So I want the ancestors to guide, my God, and everything else to guide us. What is making the cut today? Let it be led by not just my thought, but my spirit, and that spirit that connects me with you and anyone else who will see or is watching with us today. That it would be just what we need.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to take that breath. Drawing peace in and holding it with gratitude and then letting it out with a whole bunch of peace for y'all. And if you haven't had a chance to just take one deep breath today, I hope you just took it. So I'm Mara, y'all. Thank you for allowing me to arrive. And I hope you're here with me too. So I'm Mara. I was born in Boriquen, colonial name Puerto Rico, 1975. Raised in Chicago. I'm the daughter, granddaughter, niece of a family of teachers. Um, I'm very proud of that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, even just right now, that for my grandmother's funeral about a year and a half ago, she died in September, and I had one of her fourth or fifth grade students come up to me thanking me. And she died at 96, right? And so for somebody who she had been with for decades and decades and decades before to still remember her and honor her, I think is holy and sacred and not a small thing. So I just want to honor that I come from those people, from teachers, that so do you, that you are them too, right? And that all of us have experiences with teachers and educators in a variety of ways, and that we just, I feel very honored to be a part of that lineage. So yeah, then I became a teacher myself for over 20 years, from 1997 to 2019. Thank you, powers that be or spiritual powers that be, for letting me kind of like skirt the whole pandemic side of education. I mean, that sucks for those who are in it now. Like there's not a moment, there's not a day that in my prayers I'm not thinking about my teachers who are holding it down in the front line. Teachers, educators, all school staff, all school leaders, all us as parents, all us as support, who are now, I'm on the other side of support. I'm not in the schoolhouse, but I sure hold a lot of space for those who are. This is hard work. This is blessed work. It doesn't make it any less burdensome. So yeah, I come here today not just as myself, but holding my family lineage and my teaching fam with me, because they need that uphold. We owe them an enormous debt of gratitude. Yeah. So to our teachers today, and to all teachers who have been, that's who I'm coming in with today. So yeah, teacher for 20 years. Now I'm life coaching. I took a year off sabbatical after my 22 years in CPS, Chicago Public Schools. Took that year off. I got sober. I got my life coaching certification. I started the small business of Liberatory life coaching, and I'm doing that one-on-one sessions. I also do group workshops for schools and social service organizations, things of that nature. I facilitate racial healing circles. I'm a racial healing circle practitioner with TRHT, Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation Chicago, Greater Chicago. And I'm also now doing racial equity coaching with a not-for-profit organization that works through TRHT now that they're opening up a fellowship for healing and education.
That's dope. That's dope. Mara, thank you again for being with us. We got lots of love for you already happening in the comments. This may be the first time someone's baby showed up in the comments. Sorry, Lorena, I know you're not a baby, but someone's child showed up in the comments to show love to their mama. Hi, Lorena.
That's why I start with ancestor reverence and elder reverence, mommy, because that's what I'm trying to teach my child. So I honor you for honoring me, baby girl. I love you.
You're right. Stop it. That's I can't. All right. Laura's here. That's my coach.
Hey, girl. That's my girl too. Look at all this love from the family.
Yes. You know what? LinkedIn is a little funky, so it doesn't tell us who it is, but welcome. I love your intro. They're working with garlic. Their smell is garlic. They're cooking to feed their souls and minds. Y es boricua también. So.
That's Betsaida, y'all. That's Betsaida.
Betsaida. Sí, sí.
Betsaida, log into your Facebook so we see your name.
Your garlic and my incense. We about to make some magic, sister.
For real. We got some Surge love. happening. Jonna KC20 is here with us. She says, hey, y'all.
Words, the game and life changer of game and
Man.
life changers. Come through with it.
Man, and then Lorena, just showing the love. She went over to YouTube and said, let me go ahead and comment on there too.
Want to hop on Twitter, Lorena? Hop on Twitter.
Twitter, LinkedIn.
Now, let me tell you something. People were very serious about our chit chat today, y'all. I have people texting me, Facebook me, like, okay, like I get like good luck, hope it goes well. I'm like, they know their girl. They know I'm gonna ramble for years and be like, all scrambly. Like they're like, girl, it's good. You gonna be fine. You gonna do great, right? But tell me why people are like, congratulations. I'm like, is there an award? Are y'all giving me a monetary scholarship for my?
You got on the show with the Susana Elizarraz and the Latinx education.
Tú tienes razón, hermana. You absolutely right. Those congratulations are very good.
There's another comment.
Lorena came back to Facebook. She says she got you. And then here we go. Somebody's boo is in the house.
You know what?
She's like, I'll be back.
I love it, man. I love it. Just seeing the love around you is so amazing. Then go ahead. I know you got some more.
Yes.
Our next question.
Yes, I'm sitting here super excited too, Mara. I got to show you some love. That's my coach right there, y'all. That's my coach too.
Thank you, sister. Some people be all shy about saying that, and I'm like, shoot, everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs a therapist. Everybody needs help. Why y'all? So I appreciate when people just say it, like, yep, that's my coach. I go to coaching. Amen. Me too.
Yes. And Mara, as you know, but I do want to make this public. You helped me through a tough time. And those listening who know me know it was difficult to leave the classroom. And thank you, Mara, for that healing, that experience. You're truly gifted.
Thank you, sister. I only mirror back what people already have. That's all. I'm just a mirror. A mirror and a window. Sometimes you got to see new stuff. Normally, you just got to see yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my question to you is, it's a multi question within a question. So take your time. Tell us about your leadership story, your upbringing, your journey as a student, as a professional, or anything that you feel is relevant to credit for where you are now.
Lord, everything, because everything is everything. But I'm going to start it like this. When I first read the question, because, colonial, hierarchical mind, I'm like, oh, my leadership story. So when I left the classroom and became a coach and started doing school leadership, team, So my mind went to that. So I'm going to kick it off like this, y'all. Like, I'm going to keep it all the way real. When that particular moment happened, that I sat with my principal at the time after 16 years in the classroom and was like, yo, like, we need some help. You have like 5, 6 administrative assistants for, admin stuff, which great. Amen. We need help too. Like, your good teachers want to be better. Your teachers that are struggling want to be good. Your great teachers want to freaking be outstanding. Like, we all need help. Can we have some assistance in this space? She's like, sure. You want to be a coach? And I'm like, no, but I saw the need for it, right? So I jump into this position, and what I didn't know what would happen that summer that I was going to go to Columbus, Ohio, to the Gay Sue Pennell, like literacy coaches collective, like this big, several day webinar, whatever, right? Or not webinar, sorry. This is before COVID, when we were regular ass life. So yeah.
In-person conference. Now you got to say in person in front of things, because
in the in-person conference in Columbus, Ohio, we did, like 4 or 5 days of like coaching, like coaching for coaches, how to be a coach, basically. And we constantly are living in that imposter syndrome, right? Or society puts us in that box. So I'm like, pues yo no sé. It almost like 16 years of being in the classroom. I thought I knew nothing about coaching. Like, girl, that's what you do all day. Just in a different lens and with adults, right? But I'm like, I want to be competent. I want to do well for my teachers. They've seen me as a colleague all this time, and I want to, I don't know, show them I have some expertise that they can garner some improved practice from, right? So I'm like, I got to make this thing. What I didn't know was I was going to have a major life altering surgery. Right. So I didn't know what was happening was brewing within me. But I'm put it just out there because it's the truth. I had to have a full hysterectomy. So that is the surgery. Talk about life altering, life changing. The change of life came rushing in weeks and months later, right? Like stuff was completely shifted for me. And I still, y'all, beyond the advice of everyone, from my boss to my doctor to my husband and family and like teachers, like, Mara, ¿qué tú haces? Yo fui. Let me tell you that with bandages and a cane, I limped onto that damn plane. And I sat, real careful with the little, those little college seats that have the slide. I remember that perfectly because I'd have to be like real careful about how I slid in because it was like a real awkward shape. And con mi my gauze and my cane everywhere I went. And like, that's how the hell my leadership journey began, right? Or in theory, if I'm thinking of it from that hierarchical lens of moving into school leadership. So effed up is how the hell it how it started, right? Like from a completely entregada, like just surrendered to these dominant cultural traits of, urgency, perfection. We got to get it done just so. It's got to be this way, and it's got to be now. And this self-sacrifice and saviorism, right? And also, to be real, like for my own ego, like I was not about to go in there looking like a dummy. So I had to learn these goods, and it was in person, right? No virtual at the time, right? So I had to go, I had to go. And so even when folks would tell me, like, you doing too much, girl, like think of yourself, think of your health. Like there was no, it's like I keep talking about the cultural characteristics. That stuff it's within us, right? The water, not the shark. We're swimming in it. We've been swimming in it. Even before birth, I told you I was born in Boriquén. I was born in a colony, in what is now a colony, right? What has been a colonized nation. So I'm already from jump, right? Exposed to this social conditioning of you gotta do your due diligence, right? Like be a leader. This is what it looks like to be a leader. And me lo había inculcado en mi propia cabeza. I had convinced myself that I needed to do that. So like when I thought about that, I'm like, well, that's jacked, right? And that's such a far cry from the person I'm trying to come home to now, not become, but come home to the layers I'm trying to shed so that I can just be what is my birthright, a free person, right? I'm like, well, then I got to start from the beginning. Everything is everything. So how it really starts is maybe not from the cane, Mara with a cane on a plane. Maybe it starts from the fact that I was born into power and joy, right? That I was born from this family of two teachers who they didn't finish till they got here to Chicago from Puerto Rico. But once they did, they became teachers in the northwest side of Chicago. So schools like Calvin Park, where my father was a teacher. That's where Delia and I had a connection. Her mom and my dad, within neighborhood organizations and the school building, were in community with each other. He was there for over 30 years, first bilingual teacher there. So you can imagine the type of stuff he confronted as the first bilingual Spanish English teacher there in a community that was mostly white, but that was becoming more and more Latino. And they weren't happy about it. And my mother too, who taught for over 30 years in several schools. Like me, she jumped around a bit. But yeah, so they became teachers, and my family, so that, I come from a family where there's lower middle class, but middle class education. So they're educated, bilingual, aún con su acento, right, with an accent, but still they can navigate both languages. So they had that asset to them. The privilege of, because of our society, fair skin. So we're coming in with class privilege, race privilege, language privilege, education privilege, citizenship privilege. Homeowners within 5 years of coming, to Chicago, brilliant people, my family, brilliant, musical, fun, funny, beautiful. So we got pretty privilege too, to keep it all the way, 100. Pero, like just hooked up, right? Real obedient, pious, church going, fun family. And so, of course, I was straight A all the way, double promoted, honor roll, valedictorian, top 5% of the nation's, blah, 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 whatever. So I got scholarships, I got hooked up. And we were like the nucleus. We're like the model family of Boricua teachers in Chicago, right? But that power and joy did not come without poison and pain. I'm quoting Kendrick, of course, in his song DNA. But yeah, the poison and the pain was there too. And I feel like even with all this just unlimited potential and privilege, there was also jacked up stuff, right? Like I mentioned, our neighbors were not happy. When we moved into the neighborhood, it happened at Kelvin, and it happened a couple blocks down where we live, where we grew up in Hermosa. Um, we were victims of arson by the time I was 8 years old, and my parents bought that first house, that first apartment building in 1982. The folks who lived there before, who were not happy about Latinos moving in, burnt down our garage, which burnt down our tree, which was approaching our home. So here I am, an 8-year-old child. Like I have very active memories of the first time my teeth chattered, like in the cartoons. I remember thinking, I feel like I'm in Tom and Jerry. Like, why is my mouth doing this? Right? That trauma of seeing what I thought was about to be my home too, engulfed in flames. Like the true fear and trauma of racial hatred. They killed our dog that same year, fed him like a bola de comida con tranquilizers y nos lo mataron. I was assaulted and violated in my body as a small child as well by a neighbor. I witnessed not I witnessed, I'm sorry, but I experienced, I didn't witness it live when it happened, but my best friend in 5th grade was murdered in a drive-by by gangbangers. I'm 10 years old going to North Shore Country Day School, which is like a suburban, whatever, not so nearby, Chicago, but very rich neighborhood. And I'm seeing for the first time systemic inequality in my face. Like, I'm like, what the hell? They got tennis courts and like geared, I don't know. It was so spacious and huge. And they had, a comedy studio and a dance studio and a music studio. And I'm like, just really seeing the savage inequalities, right? To quote Jonathan Kozol. Incarceration becomes, for the first time in my life, I have a cousin who shows me my first gun and cocaine, y qué sé yo, and he goes to jail. And I'm like, whoa, like all these harms kind of touching within and around, either very personally or tangentially, these horizontal traumas. Domestic abuse in my home. My parents subsequently divorced when I was 16. Addiction issues as well. And even suicidal ideation, right? At about age 16, when my family broke up, I think at that point I had from ages 8 to 16, and those 8 short years, such a trajectory of just a lot of harm that was unaddressed. And so when you look at, the enormous, the joy and the power, right, that I spoke of at the beginning, you're not seeing any of that other stuff. You see a light-skinned, 2-parent household, 2-income, professional parent, own their own home, educated, bilingual, brilliant, cared for child who is really set up in the world, right? And all that other stuff too, that was maybe not as much seen. So by the time I'm going to like UIC, when I graduate from Lane Tech, right, one of the top schools in the city at that time, I turned 17. A month later, I used my wonderful, thank you God, MTI scholarship, Minority Teachers of Illinois, because I already knew I was going to be a teacher too. So I get the Minority Teachers of Illinois scholarship. I have my, my 5 years at UIC. Why 5 years? Because doing the most. For the same reason I wrote 5 and 6 pages, I took 5 and 6 extra ass classes that I didn't need, right? So 5 years, super senior at UIC. I loved it. I loved my college experience, especially the first couple years. Age 19, I have another personal violation to my person, my organismo. Also unprocessed, pero what do? We keep going. Ain't got no time for that. That didn't even happen. What you talking about? I got shit to do, right? So, but because of this really beautiful divine trajectory in my last year, as luck would have it, the year that my brother, who's 3 years younger than me, came into UIC, to University of Illinois Chicago, and I'm leaving, there's like this influx of just a lot of beautiful people. Like I got involved with Puerto Rican Student Association, Mexican Students de Aslan, Leer at the time was Latino Education Empowerment Resource. We're doing poetry nights and we're watching Young Lords documentaries and we're doing these conferences and we're going to New York and seeing other Latinos in education or, and just feeling very much that embrace of community that it just swoops right in to lift you up. And again, seguimos pa'lante.
Mhm.
So by the time I'm coming in as a teacher, I have this very, very divine trajectory of the school that I taught at for the first 3 years of my education was named after a Puerto Rican woman, Ana Roque de Dupre. And it is led by a Puerto Rican principal, woman, Puerto Rican woman vice principal, Puerto Rican woman counselor. And I'm like, and in Humboldt Park, which is the Puerto Rican enclave of my city, I'm like, that's it. Aquí me quedo,
You
right?
made it.
I'm gonna die here. Like I'm gonna be a lifer, right? And that was not the case, you guys, right? Like sometimes, despite our best efforts, and again within that the umbrella of community, there's that was like my first sign, really. Like if I had seen savage inequality at in Winnetka, in that rich school, whatever, North Shore Country Day School, this was a different type of inequality where I'm seeing a lot of like stuff that I can't get behind, a mistreatment, and we're doing it to each other though.
Mm.
And I'm like, whoa, yeah, I can't stay in this. So I decide after those 3 years, I go on maternity leave. I have my baby. When I come back, I'm going to De Diego. De Diego is the grammar school I went to.
Mm.
So if I thought I was going to be for life in this Humboldt Park school that was 2 blocks away, I walked 2 blocks down. I get my gig at De Diego doing 8th grade, which is what I love to teach, right? Humanities for upper grade, for, middle school. And I taught science and then humanities. And I get my gig at Te Diego. Y ahí sí que I'm like, no, aquí es que me quedo. This is my school. I'm an alum here. This is about to be the dynasty story, right? Like, this is where I was born and bred. This is where I live and die and do my bidding with my people.
That one's gonna be named after you. Like, is your thing?
Yes.
Maybe, you know what? At the time, I didn't have, right, like those kind of
Yeah.
aspirations. Right? But
Of
my
course.
dad would say things like, "Oh, you should be the principal here," and I felt very strongly, like, nah, like I'm super happy in the classroom. Like
Mhm.
it's so freaking hard, but there's so much joy.
Mhm.
I will take for years and years and years, sisters. I didn't even look at my pay stub.
Mm.
First of all, porque soy bien bruta para los números, and my husband, thank you God for my husband 5 million times. He's the money dude. He's the budget guy in the family. So one, it's like Greek or Portuguese to me. I don't know what it says. And two, um, I didn't care. I
Yeah.
literally did not care with how much money I made. Like I just wanted to be there. That was my whole joy.
Mm.
And then life lives, right? And again, even with the Latina principal, and uh, the ways they were doing tracking. It was a school that got its gifted monies through tracking and standardized testing and putting students, and I would try to head. I was like a grade level team leader that had its challenges in itself because I had an all male staff, and
Mhm.
patriarchy is patriarchy, right? And despite their best intentions, and they're not bad dudes, I love them, but they presented challenges for me, right? As the only at that time I had gotten my master's degree too, so it was like all this like, oh, tú quién te crees that you're gonna be telling us what to do, kind of thing, right? So you're a
Yeah.
woman and you got your master's and you only been doing this 8 or so years, but you think you're gonna tell us. So that I could deal with because I'll tussle with the boys. I'm fine with that. But then with the admin,
Yeah.
trying to tell me that I could not, as grade level chair, reorganize our 8th grade classroom, which were already brimming 32, 33, 34 students per class. Let's mix them up so we give each other lifelines. So we mix up leadership and demographics and, like personality and needs. No, they were like from zero, from 1 to 33, your top whatever students that rank in math or reading, that's that class. And the next, and the next,
Mm.
and the next, hasta que llegamos al último salón, when we get to the last class, and that's my class, right? So the bottom of the barrel, score-wise, not human worth-wise, but in their estimation, score-wise, the Sweat Hogs, right? If I could date myself and go all the way back to Welcome Back, Cotter, the Sweat Hogs is like the most difficult class. So I got my sweaties in my class, and I'm also teaching. So I teach them reading, my babies, and then my other 4 classes of babies, I'm teaching them writing. And I don't know if y'all ever taught writing before, but teaching 1 class of writing is hard. Teaching 4 classes of writing and a reading class to 8th grade students who are reading at 3rd and 4th grade level, and you're the grade level chairperson for a team that is not too keen on your leadership, and your leadership in the school is trying to force you to reorganize it to this jacked up tracking system that you are unequivocally not trying to do. I had to go. I couldn't stand for that. So then more divinity. Now I go to Prieto. I teach at Prieto for 2 years. Jorge Prieto Academy. Ay, Dios mío. Jorge Luis Prieto Math and Science Academy. I'm like, how can I forget? They were a lifeline for me at a time. I was heartbroken when I left the Diego. I never wanted to leave. But yeah, I did. And I went to a school that was 5 minutes from home instead of 15, 20 minutes. So I could get up later, and they had a later start time.
Is that with or without traffic?
Even with traffic, 5
Okay.
minutes, sister.
Okay.
No lie. It was beautiful. And I had a later start time, and I hate getting up early. So it was perfection. My principal was somebody I knew, and she completely trusted and knew my work, and gave me carte blanche, really, laissez-faire attitude of like, there's a lot of stuff I got to work on here. I ain't got to worry about you. Dale.
Yeah.
So I had carte blanche to do my bidding as a liberatory teacher of, for the first time, 6th grade students, which I thought I would hate because I was more of a 7th, 8th, but I loved. And this is the issue, right? 99% Mexican. Do I have anything against Mexicans? Never, never, never. My husband's Mexican. My children have Mexican. I've been, and now I sound like people be like, some of my best friends are Mexican, right? But like, no, in real ass life, no problem. The problem is this: where are the Puerto Ricans? That was the problem for me. Where are the Black people? Like, not enough for me. I need a mix. Right? I've been working with Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, and Black students, and a sprinkling of Latino and Asian, mostly Filipino, my whole career. But for me and mine, for my blood to run hot, I need to be around more, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I need it to shift.
Well,
So,
diversity is in and of itself misconstrued to mean people of color, right? Like, when really, no, diversity is diversity. O sea, having different cultures, different backgrounds, different languages versus, you could be 98% Mexican school that's not very diverse, right? It's yes, they are people of color, but there's like this misconception, no, with like diversity, that like, no, diversity means different cultures, and that was more your flow, right?
it's like diversity plus. I wanted it to be a mix, number one, but also the subtext is like, and within that mix, I need to be around Puerto Ricans. Like, it was just like, it's part of my mission work too, right? It's part of who I am, and it's part of that life flow, that reciprocity. Like, I want to feed and I want to be fed. And when we think about representation matters, it was very important to me that not just Latino young men and women could see me and be like, well, if she could do it, shit, I can. But I wanted specifically for Puerto Rican children too, to be able to do that,
Yeah.
And then, of course, the coalition building of Black and Brown. To me, Black people are the heart of this entire planet. Africa, right, as a landmass, is the heart of the planet. And to me, Black and Blackness, that along with indigeneity is the lifeblood and spirit and source and power, to me, of all. So I need to be around Black and Latino people. And so, and Puerto Rican specifically. So I started going back east, right? Like, I would drive to Prieto every morning, which was, 5 minutes away, but westbound. And my spirit was telling me, baby boo, you're supposed to be going east, mama. So even though all the conditions were set up very well for me there, that was not where I was supposed to stay. So I come back to Humboldt Park, and not only come back to Humboldt Park, I come back to then what is now called Erie. At that point, Dupre had already gone, defunct as a whole school. They shut down. Erie takes over the exact same building, 1405 North Washtenaw, right? So the exact same building I started teaching at in 1997, now it's 2000 something, and I'm coming back to that building, but now it's Erie. Erie Charter School comes from Erie Neighborhood House, which is where my husband worked, and my children went to kindergarten, to daycare, all the way from kindergarten through 8th grade in the school. So I decide when my son is maybe like, I don't know, 3rd grade or something. My daughter was about to start kindergarten, and I'm like, or no, she's a little older. I decide I'm going to go there with them. You know, when I come back, it's going to be with my babies, because at that point, I'm like, I have dedicated my whole ass entire career to other people's children. And what about my children? They're so understanding, and they have never reclamado, reprochado. They've never thrown it in my face, like how busy I am. I mean, yeah, they make comments, but not in a hurtful way where they added any more guilt to the guilt I already felt, right? And I've apologized so many times, but at this point, there was like a big career changer where I'm like, okay, full circle. I'm coming back to be with them, and right, I'm not leaving them out of this liberation story, story that we're weaving together with the community. They're my freaking first community. And so I come back, and that's wonderful too. And I'm there for 9 years, and somewhere in between, tell my principal, like, we need help. Like, teachers need some help. And she, puts it right back to me. Okay, you want to be a coach? Go coach. Go get some PD. And I was there for a few years. It was wonderful. I call it a garden. I feel like my children and I were growing in the same garden, because to me, Erie is family and love. And it was beautiful until it got much harder, right? Like just administrative turnovers. And truth be told, like when I switched from the classroom to school leadership, I really never knew if I was walking toward my destiny or away from it. Like I just felt like, damn, this is the same ass hard work, but no change I never had a change in pay grade. So same work, more so in some cases, just different work. But no joy. Like at least I had the kids in the classroom, but these little stank adults, with their attitudes, just like my attitude too. I'd be like, what the hell? I already told you how to do that. You should know, right? Because we think as adults, like, you should know. Why do I got to tell you something over and caramba? Because learning takes repetition. Because if they didn't learn it, maybe you didn't teach it the way they need it. Have you thought about their needs? Or was I just going ahead and adopting the same thing that white supremacist cultural machine pushes us to keep doing? Treat the school like a factory. Do these practices. Let me see results. Go. Right? So I didn't feel like I was my best self as a coach. I then went to Surge to really pick up more leadership development tools to find community. I felt like I had already had so many beautiful communities in my life that I was born in and had my whole life. I was like, maybe I don't need the community so much, but I'll pick up some tools. So I picked up my whole last life, a whole new spiritual outlook, emotional outlook. Like Surge might have coached me right out of the schools, to be honest with you. And it's because you know what it does, Susana. They teach you to look at your strengths rather than your weaknesses. And when I got real honest about it, I'm like, I actually don't want to do none of this stuff. I need to stop doing what I think other people think I should be doing and do what I'm here to do. So I started listening to myself all the way out the door. I take that year of sabbatical. I get my sobriety under control, right? My workaholism stopped. So thankfully that alcoholism stopped too. I took concerted efforts to turn my life around in that way. I get my coaching license. I start a business. And the leader that I am today, I want to just say before I say anything else, I owe to my husband in a very big way, because I would not have been able to go on sabbatical or start this business and fumble and clunk around like I have, trying to figure out. I told y'all, me and money, we're not friends. So we're trying to figure that out now. And my husband has been holding it down. My children have been so understanding. My family's been so supportive and loving. My community, people like Delia and Laura and other folks have come to me to be their coach. Like the fact that sisters and brothers are, well, mostly sisters, because my work is for women of color, to evolve through their life transitions. But sisters putting money in my pockets, putting food on my table, helping give me the tuition that I need for my son's U of M tuition. balance. Like it's been a dream.
You
Shout
know
out
what?
shout out to Cesar Salgado.
Yes.
Yeah.
You.
And you know what that makes me think of is, when we talk about children, we talk about how it takes a village, right? But we don't talk about that when it comes to grown adults and particularly women, right? How many times, and I'm gonna refer to, I'm a new-ish first time mom, right? How many times I had to reach out to a sister and be like, is this normal? How many times I had to even to this day, I'm like, my kid slaps me every chance he gets. Is that normal? Because, or is my kid just particularly evil? Like I need to know. I need to know because I need to address it ASAP, right? But like how many times we reach out, especially, I mean, you're talking about these women who have literally full circle. I trust you with my life transitions of everything, Mara. Like life transitions are the most, more than anybody, right? You coaching all these people through them are some of the most difficult moments of our lives. And as I'm going to speak for myself, I know as a woman, when you're transitioning into motherhood and into a working motherhood and like all of these other transitions too that happen, to be able to reach back to other sisters and other people and be like, we talk about it taking a village for children, like you're talking about a village for real,
Mhm.
It's, and I would say, right, like white supremacist values, again, it comes back to the way we are socialized to believe this stuff, would have us believe we're supposed to do it individually, on our own, independent, right? Fierce independence. Individualism is a premise of dominant cultural values, whereas indigenous values are more rooted in collectivism,
Yeah.
right? So when we think about, and I'm coming from a land that was colonized, right? So Puerto Rico, Teddy Roosevelt charged up, the hill talking about pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Mhm.
And people in my own family still have that same kind of thinking and will say it to me. And I'm like, yes, and like pull yourself up. I'm not removing individual responsibility because then that also removes individual choice and bump that. Nobody will, again, freedom is my birthright and I always have a choice, right? But do not undervalue and undercut the fact that not only could we or should we do things as a village, we're supposed to, at least in the cultural, paradigm that I really want to subscribe to, which is that collectivist indigenous kind of thinking. We're not supposed to do this alone. Of course, we're not supposed to do this shit by ourselves. This is impossible.
Listen, it's
Uh,
obvious too right here because, well, first of all, Ivan joined us on YouTube. He says I'm a new Vara fan. He said, let's go, coach.
yes.
Hey, I'm starting to work for men too, so we work that out, Ivan. Ivan.
Pero mira este village. I don't know village in español, ¿verdad?
That's
Pero
my daddy.
does your daddy listening? You got, your sisters here loving on you. Laura's crying a little bit. Look, your baby boy is here.
Oh,
Yeah.
baby. My baby. Come back to Chicago. I hate Michigan. Ay, ay, ay. Thank
And
y'all.
then of course our amazing Cesar. Your whole village is listening and watching. Mother, father, husband, daughter, son, sister, brother, nieces, nephews. Laura says hola to all of Mara's familia. So beautiful. I think this
Oh,
will go down so far. Oh, look at this. Your mama is here
hey,
too.
mom.
Ay, mira, mira, papi.
No, wait. I'm gonna text Carla. I'm gonna be like, "Yo, log on." No, I'm kidding.
No, you
Mara,
already know. I'm already seeing the family group chat where everybody's like, if you're not on Mara's interview right now, you're not invited to Sunday dinner. Like,
yes.
I love
Oh,
it. I love it. You know
Maraliz,
what?
I
But
want to thank you so much for your vulnerability, your transparency.
yeah,
What a role model for all the women listening and all the educators that come in with the trauma, and it shows up with us in the classroom. We carry all these traumas and characteristics as well. And I really like how you said, how we just keep going and move on instead of like just stopping and naming what's coming up for us.
Yeah. And you know what, Mara, you also mentioned, sorry, I know you're getting ready to say something. Teachers, teachers, how often are we told to get it together? Like if your class is a little noisier, then like you feel some type of way, you're like, oh man, like the whole school thinks I'm the bad teacher, right? Like how much we're often pressured to like be in this individualized, like I can't share my things with and that teacher, don't ask her for her stuff because she's not going to share that with you. How that kind of
who does that hurt? And who does that hurt?
Yeah.
Us,
Yep.
but the kids, right?
Yeah.
So in
Yeah.
order to save our rep, I'm done with that. That's why my vulnerability is like non-negotiable. And that's why I asked you when we started the chat before we went on live. I'm like, hey, I'm probably gonna say bad words, okay? Because I get excited. Hey, I'm probably gonna forget what I'm saying. I need you to remind me. Like that's just the truth. I'm not perfect. I forget stuff. I use a lot of curse words. I am not even upset about it. I love all words. I don't discriminate. So like, I'm just going to be my full ass self. All the stuff that happened to me, my trauma childhood, the good and the bad. Name one person who hasn't been through some stuff like that, right? Like, I'm tired of the hiding. If somebody wants to come in your classroom and be like, girl, your class out of control. You're right. Good observation. Any tips? How can you help me?
You're right. Can you help?
Can you help? How do you class? Vamos a ayudarnos, coño.
Is it okay if I bring up your picture right now that you want to share with us?
Yes.
I mean, just tell me where we begin with this. It's so beautiful.
So I wanna pull something that's probably the most cherished nugget of wisdom that I've garnered this year before I even bring this up, and that's this idea of service versus servitude, right? So I'm part of a decolonial healing collective that is led by the incomparable and amazing Doctora Rocio Rosales Mesa. Again, Decolonial Healing Collective. And she, among many, many, many pieces of wisdom that she's imparted, because she has this beautiful, approach of linking the decolonial, like the political part of our work, right, as liberators of self and the new world that we're trying to bring in, and the spiritual part. So you'll notice I'm kind of like that too, right? Like I traipse both sides from the political to the very personal and very spiritual. And so she talks a lot about servitude rather than service. And I feel like a lot of the things that I named, I mean, even with that very first example of being literally with a cane on a plane after a freaking hysterectomy, right? Because I have to provide for my teachers, and I got to be competent, and I got to do a good job. I'm going to do a good job. All that nonsense. That was servitude. That was me in self-sacrifice. That was me not even valuing my own personal worth, right? Or at the expense of, because, right? And we want to blame white folks with the white saviorism. I was doing the same thing. I'm trying to cape for everybody. Girl, can you heal? Can you have a seat? Can you have several seats? Like, no, I was in servitude. That was not service. And when you forget to count yourself in the liberation that you want for your people, when you forget you are your people, like I needed that shift when I was like, contra, mis hijos son mis primeros estudiantes. They are my family first. My first community is my family. Let me get in right relationship with them. And as years and years have gone by, I'm like, oh, snap. I got to get in right relationship with me, right? No more of this self-sacrifice, right? So in service, what you're seeing in this picture, that's service, not servitude. This is me in my full joy. This is why I've done what I do for my children, your children, and everybody else's children, for us as adults who are doing this beautiful and difficult work, for the new earth or the new world. Like, I don't mean to sound all whatever futuristic, but what's wrong with that? We need a different future, right? Like, we need to bring back some of the ways of old to create the new. We need to integrate some of these dominant values only insofar as how they will aid us in moving forward, discard the rest, and bring back on the wisdom of the ancestors, who, like, we can get desesperados and like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? And in the day-to-day lose ourselves in the sauce. But the truth is, we've been here and we've conquered genocide, displacement, colonization, all the archies and all the isms, and we still here.
Yep.
This is jacked. This is all the way messed up. I'm not trying to undercut what's happening in our current climate, but it we've been through, bro. Again, genocide, slavery, colonization for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and still pervasive today and still happening today. So like, if we have been able to make magic, to make miracles, to create something out of nothing, make a way where there's no way, how, como no? We cannot lose. We have each other. And so to me, this is service, not servitude. This is me and my babies. This is a representation of all 4 schools that I was at. I got babies here from De Diego, from I'm sorry, going backwards, Dupré, De Diego, Prieto, and Erie. One of my greatest joys in life is that that picture kind of right on top in the middle where like I look real obnoxious laughing like, eh. So why do I look crazy? Because I'm cracking the hell up at about 10 or 12 of my babies from my very first graduating class at Ana Roque de Dupré Elementary in 1998. And in 2021, in August, a couple months ago, my babies came to visit me, and I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. The message that keeps resonating for me from that night, that day and that night, because we were here for hours, and if I was still drinking, I would have gotten so messed up. Like I would have just been in my. I'm so glad I'm not though, man, because I was able to see this so clearly. That my babies kept saying, "Man, you don't have to do that, Miss Salgado." Or Collazo, because that was the maiden name at the time. Miss Collazo, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to love us like that. You don't have to be there. Like, they were thinking now from their 38-year-old selves, looking at 46-year-old me, thinking, holy shit, you were 22, Miss Salgado? I'm like, yeah, I had just turned 22 a couple months before I started teaching y'all. They're like, you did not have to do everything you did. Like their gratitude was so great. They were beside themselves. Like they were like, and we were a hard class. I'm like, you were just me. Like, and I shared with them some of the things I told you about. Like I was going through, my parents were going through the divorce and we went through arson and they killed our dog and we had a hate crime. And, these violations happened to me and all these, same stuff that was happening to you was happening to me. How can I not? How can I not love and take care of you? You're me and I'm you. We're the same. That's our job. And so to me, that's being in service, right? Let's bring your whole heart in it because they loved me back. I was able to receive that influx of energy back and forth. Like it was so sustaining. And to me, it really is the secret sauce of everything is community, 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 community. And we get overwhelmed and we feel like it's not going to work. Why? Because we forget to ask for help. Because we forget we've been through this and worse. Because we forget about our power, especially when it's collective power, right? And we're tempted to stay in kind of this downward spiral of what's going to happen, what's always happened. We're going to work it out, but we're going to do it together. So to me, that's what this is. This is love. This is beloved community, right? Like Dr. King talked to us about. This is my babies writing back to me, right? We talk about wisdom. Oh my God, look at what this little girl, you can't even see it from here, but there's a little butterfly drawing to the left of the picture I was referring to. This is a fourth grade student. Mind you, I told you at the beginning, my grandmother, at her funeral, there was a 4th or 5th grade student who came to thank her. Mira lo que ya están captando. Look at what they're already capturing at this young age. She writes me this little note. Miss Salgado, all this time you thought you were a worm and you were a butterfly. That's why you were not a good worm. Because you were a butterfly, right? Like she's like, stop. And to me, right, the metaphor is like, stop wriggling around in white supremacist worminess, right? And like break free. That's why my practice is called Liberate. Like, I'm done with this servitude nonsense. And we can't keep masking this, you guys, right? Like, we can't be like, oh, but it's for our people. Okay, but you do it with them,
Yes.
not just for them. You're gonna die.
Hmm.
You're gonna burn out. Keep your flame alive. Stoke it with the flame of others.
Mhm.
This what is my dear sister and mentor, Cecily Relucio, Pinay Warrior sister. She says, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Esto va para largo, right? This is going to be a very long time. There's a relay race, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So take your time, hand it over to the next. You don't do this alone. And our children will pick up where we left off too. So that's why you feed into the babies.
Absolutely. Man, Mara. I just had to take a deep breath after that one. Since you are on this picture here with your students, I think I'm going to go ahead and ask you if you had one thing that you wanted all of your students to walk away from all the different schools, or a particular class, your school, your former district, etc. What would that be?
As you might guess, I have a hard time narrowing it down to one thing. I want to say everything, but
Everything, yes.
you know, I'm gonna probably do two. The first one I think is something that I didn't learn until my graduation from Surge as a 3-year-old, I think I was at the time, in 2018. Andre Perry, Dr. Andre Perry, was at our graduation, and in the retreat meeting we had before we graduated, he said something I had never heard anyone say, and that was and it's so freaking sad that it was the first time I ever like heard it in words. Said, there's nothing wrong with us. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with Black and brown children. Like, at the hell all. There is nothing, like, I had never heard anyone say the words plain and clear. There is nothing wrong with Black and brown children. Here's the clause that solving or ending systemic oppression wouldn't solve. Like, our issues come from this place of inequity. Inherently, there's nothing wrong with us. My babies, my students, you have been gifted with every spiritual blessing, and if not physical endowment of material, whatever, you got community love and support, and we're gonna take care of ourselves through it and each other. Like, but there's nothing wrong with you. Right? So that's one, because we need to step out of this freaking place of unworth, because it's undergirding all our other choices. And if I see one more of my students one more time put in I'm calling y'all out on this whole Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest, like, I'm done hearing, another day, another dollar, like, gotta make this money, gotta be on that grind. I'm making my money, or even more in that servitude space, like, y'all, I'm so tired, but I got to make this money. Like, yes, of course. Like, I'm not living on another planet. I know we need money. I know we need to work hard sometimes, but like, that can't be everything. Please, let's stop like subscribing all our worth to our material or to our productivity or to anything outside of ourselves. Freedom is your birthright. You're born to thrive. You deserve it. If you didn't know it, now you know. There's nothing wrong with you. We just need to work on these, contextual issues. But you're perfect. Or, you're not perfect, but we ain't supposed to be. So it's all good.
Right.
Like, you're fine. Yeah, and I wanted to share, because I know that we're about to log off, and maybe since I've said so many of my words, I want to share someone else's words, which is poet Naida Wahi. my friend Cecily, who I mentioned earlier, who's taught me. Ooh, I do have two more things. No, it's okay. I'm gonna save it for the TED Talk, y'all. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm just gonna share this very short and beautiful poem that my girl Cecily, also one of her many, many gifts to us as a community, is this poem I dedicated to them, to you, and to myself, my children, to all of us. I love my people. I can never not love us. It is a blood love, a cellular love, an infinite water. It will sustain all trauma. It has sustained all trauma, this love. Older and wilder than the world itself. It multiplies in life with every death, and it is unstoppable. Punto.
I love that.
Our love is unstoppable. Our power is unstoppable. We got each other.
And it's sustainable.
If we stop trying to act like the whole world is on us to fix, yes. But if we share it, then it's sustainable.
Yeah, like Laura said, we canceling burnout culture.
Yes.
Hey, Jackie, some more Surge fam here showing the love. Material and money can't be everything.
Yes.
You know what, Mara? I already knew, number one, based on your notes, but number two, knowing you,
It's the Boricua. It's the Boricuanas.
that the hour wouldn't be enough for my soul, right? And I mean, Delia, of course, knows this because she's like, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I need this coaching because Mara is the truth. And if you don't know Mara, now you know a little bit. And now you do. Also, we got people watching right now who knows Ted, because we need to get a hold of
Yes.
Ted. Where's Theodore? Who got a Theodore Connect? Because our girl Mara needs a TED Talk. No, for real. No, all jokes aside. I mean, your story, and this is why we continue to do this show, despite the fact that some people are back in person, or most people are back in person, schools are back in person, all of that, is because the stories that we have about our lives, our upbringings, our world, our families, our immigration, and all of the things, someone somewhere is listening to a little Mara, a little Susana, a little Delia, a little Jackie, a little Lorena, a little Laura is listening to this and being like, man, that's where I could be. Not that, this is the end of the journey, right? But like, to have overcome the hurdles that we as three have collectively overcome, to overcome the hurdles you so vulnerably shared with us. Thank you so much. And your teaching journey. I mean, the pictures of all of your students, for all of us former teachers and current teachers who are listening, that's what means the most, Mara, as always, thank you for all that you do. Thank you for how much you commit yourself to people and to people's lives. It means a lot. Same for educators and for teachers, same thing for coaches. You commit yourselves and your energy and your love to other people's lives, and we appreciate that about you. And personally, I love you, sister. Thank you for spending time with us today. Any final thoughts or message you'd like to tell us, leave us with?
Just the gratitude of being given a space, and I knew too, right? An hour, like I can't squeeze 22 years in an hour, and
Right.
but I was grateful to get it. And again, I want to pay homage to our folks who are on the front lines now, right? Like I also have the benefit of a bit of distance to kind of get my thoughts and self together, but others are in it every day. And so I just really want to, if you see some bit of peace in me, go get some for yourself because you deserve it. And then just, I shared my words, I shared a poet's words and other influencers' words. I did want to drop it. Can you guys drop maybe, or can you ladies drop the resources links that I put in the document? Because I reference certain things. And like, I'm not born knowing this. This is because I read and listen and I'm in community all day. So these are the people that I get my ideas from. It's not just me. So I want to give some respect to that and opportunities for others to look further into it. And then the last thing I wanted to say is just come back to the words of the babies, right? I talked about what Jen Alyssa said, my 4th or 5th grader. And I just wanted to echo something you exactly just now said, Susana, about like, we never know our kids that are looking and watching, like what the impact is going to be on them. And in that picture you showed is a little, one of my students, Nilemi Vargas, whom I love and adore, and we're friends now that she's a grown up. Now we could kick it. And so Nilemi, when she was an 8th grader, she done ruined one of my perfectly good canvases to paint on it like it was a note. But I have saved it ever since, and it says, "Miss Salgado, I love you. I'ma miss you so much. You should something me." She forgot. She should contact me. There you go. It's on the bottom in red. You should blank me to not. Oh, perdón. You should blank me to not give up. You showed me. That's what she was trying to write. Showed instead of shit. You showed me to not give up. I'm going to come and visit you, but know that you mean so much to me. Like you're a role model for me because you've been through things I went through and you're still successful. So that's exactly what you just talked about, Susana. Like we don't know who's watching and listening. Or in some cases we do, so we better act right. And acting right is also taking care of you. I hope that y'all will, so you can keep doing this work in community with collective care. Love you.
I love it. Mara, thank you for your time. Delia, as always.
Thank you both.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. I love y'all. I love you both so deeply. I love the whole LEC. I love KC Mo. What's good? Chicago.
Yes.
Midwest connections, Black and brown people. Let's do this. I love y'all. Blessings.
Let's
Thanks
do
for
it.
having
Let's
me.
do it. Laura,
Love you
sending
too.
so much love. Love y'all.
Love you, Loud. I love you too.
Adios. Con
Have
mucho
dinner.
amor.
Go eat.
Bye, everyone.